Army of the Dead. It's the latest Snyder joint of a movie that is about zombies. It is a zombie movie that you see and you pretty much know exactly what it happens in it. You see the characters, you see the plot, you see the things in front of your eyes, and they do exactly what you think they're gonna do in the exact way you expect them to happen, and not many surprises are had. There is some campiness involved, but not nearly enough to not make this movie very dull. Very, very dull. Now, I probably am getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let's try again and see what happens. Army of the Dead is the movie that I was mildly excited for. Not in a way that I thought it was gonna be great, but I did think it was gonna have some fun with itself, which it did. It had some fun with itself. Because I looked at the posters, and a lot of them are really, really fun. I love the illustrated posters a lot, and if the movie had just used the energy that went into making these posters, I think it would have had a much better time. So to explain Army of the Dead in a pretty straightforward way, well, it's a straightforward zombie movie, but it has a twist. It's not just a zombie movie that is plain subpar and average, it's a subpar plain average movie with a heist.
How would you like to make $50 million?
And zombies. Because Zack Snyder, I guess, either doesn't remember or doesn't know that Peninsula was a movie that exists that has that very exact same premise. Just having a movie with zombies and a heist really isn't enough to make it special. More than a fun concept is needed, and as we all know, a concept is only as good as the execution. And the execution of this movie, I think the best word to describe it would be dubious. And like most Zack Snyder things, is just way longer than it needs to be. This could have been easily an hour and 40 minutes, and it would have probably gotten rid of a lot of the pacing issues that I have in how the movie is paced. It's pacing issues, it's what it is. Army of the Dead seems to be balancing between a very serious, melodramatic, usual Snyder movie of big old themes and character interactions and dialogue that feels very stilted, and a very fun, campy movie that is self-aware and has some wit in how actions and things are presented. It's just that instead of balancing those two things very well, it's just an overall average zombie movie that sometimes have fun, campy things happen in it. It probably would have been pretty funny to see this movie either fully dramatic or fully campy. Not choosing between either made this movie mostly eh. And the two openings, I think, is a pretty good example of how either option could have been enjoyable for some reason or the other. It has a cold opening where it's a fairly straightforward, plain opening of a zombie movie that if you have ever seen a zombie movie, you have seen this opening a billion times. It's a military convoy called the Horsemen because they bring out the apocalypse. Subtle. It also has some good examples of how the jokes in this movie are gonna be written.
Could be anything from a briefcase nuke to the original copy of the Constitution, but the one written in the Founding Fathers' blood.
We're like Bigfoot.
They're gonna be written very badly. The jokes in this movie are very, very bad.
Easy peasy Japanesey.
Sorry, sir. We're not allowed to say that anymore. It's lemon squeezy now.
I think it's fine if he's Japanesey.
And here is where you notice that whenever it's a dark scene in this movie, you're gonna have a pretty hard time understanding what the hell is going on at any point, because Snyder decided that for you, the audience, it was a good idea to just put a thick layer of fog between what you were watching and your eyes. It's all so hard to see when it's dark. I understand that Zack Snyder looked for the exact lenses that he wanted to reach this soft and organic look, and it's okay that he has a vision. The only problem is that when his vision makes me think that I need to check if I need glasses because it's very hard to see. And if you have any sort of light source around you when this movie is occurring, make sure to turn all of them off. Otherwise you will see nothing. But anyways, the apocalypse has started. Everybody's in Las Vegas now. And things have to take a 180 turn because they're in the second opening of this movie, the opening credits, which completely drop the serious and dumb tones of the cold opening and go into full camp territory with no dialogue needed. It's all told to you visually in a very stupid and amazing way. There's no pretense that this is gonna be a serious movie. There are no scenes that you can't see what's happening. And most importantly, there are no parts of unfunny dialogue putting in there for the sake of a joke. And also knowing that this doesn't sound like it was written by a script generator.
Bigfoot.
The opening credits are the best part of this movie. It's all there, put in there by Zack Snyder because he knows that he wanted to have a good time. Don't think about it, just enjoy what's going on and let's go. And enjoy it while it lasts, because after the opening credits is done, you won't be getting anything to this level of camp, enjoyment, and even wit. Even how the characters are introduced, it's pretty clever. I actually really enjoyed it in the way that he did it in the opening credits, because we get them introduced to us again later on for some bizarre reason. But in the opening credits, all the movie needed to do was use a goddamn visual gag to give you everything you needed to know about the characters. You understand their background and their motivations right away with no lines of dialogue necessary. It's wonderful. It's clearly what Zack Snyder is best at. And then the credits end, and then the campiness takes a toll and a dive, and it crashes and burns and never really rises from the ashes into a fun, campy movie. It has those moments, but everything after that opening credits seems pretty tame in comparison. There's never gonna be another ridiculous moment in the movie to top anything you've seen in the opening credits. I understand that Zack Snyder wanted to have some sort of parody, satire version of the opening credits that make the movie you're about to see almost look like a farce.
In a lot of ways also, like the title sequence, I designed as sort of a mini sort of version of the movie. It's like almost like a farce at the beginning.
I get that, but I do think it's a pretty bad choice because again, in comparison, everything looks pretty lame. If it had just opening in the dour, straightforward Zack Snyder way where everything is just so melodramatic, and then the movie would grow to become campier and campier as things went on, I think that the pacing issues of this movie would be a lot less noticeable. Also, please cut 30 minutes off this movie, like the first act. All of these conflicts that are introduced in the first act are so predictable. We have Batista and the daughter that they are distanced from each other because he had to take out the mom when she was a zombie. And this is where we get a very funny, I don't know if it's intentional or not, scene of the daughter screaming and shaking while her mom gets taken out by Batista while she's standing a foot away from both of them. It's hilarious. And we also have a bad secondary human character number 2, and he's bad to the ladies, and he's just overall a jerk face. And we have Lady that has something to atone for because of something she did to her past, and we have other conflicts that are just as much of a run-of-the-mill thing you've seen a billion times that are not even worth mentioning. I wonder how these conflicts will play out. Oh, is it exactly how you expect them to play out? Great. I just don't understand the need to reintroduce characters again in the first act. We got everything we needed to know in the opening credits. These should have just been a team of zombie hunters hired to go for a heist, and you don't need to set up any of these conflicts because you know, most likely when you go into a city filled with zombies, conflict is most likely to occur. You don't have to make it something else beforehand. It's fine. The longer the movie is not in Las Vegas, the longer you have the insatiable need to go back inside, because you know that's the only place the movie has any chance of doing something silly again, and you're just craving for something silly because everything else that isn't silly.
What are you doing?
I need to talk to you.
No.
Wait.
No.
Oh, just hear me out.
It's just plain bread. It's stale plain bread. I've seen this movie a billion times. It's not that bad. It's just so average. It's there's a good film here. Zack Snyder just really needs a good script editor, because then they can say, hey, this is gonna drag in the first act, like a lot.
Just hear me out.
I do have to give it to Army of the Dead. They did have pretty fun comeuppance for their very forgettable side villain characters. The characters themselves, they're just standard. They're what you get, and it's what you get. But they do die in a fun way, especially this guy. This guy's performance when he's about to get pwned. It's great. For a movie with this many character posters that are all super colorful, they all have stupid taglines in all of them, like knock them undead, lucky be a zombie, don't know what that means. A majority of the cast is completely interchangeable. They're all pretty bland. They're not played badly by any of the actors. They're competent, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make them remarkable in any way. The only two that stand out is Dieter and Vendor, and you can know that they stand out because I remember their names. They have the best chemistry, and they're clearly, very obviously, in love. These people love each other, and you can't tell me otherwise. There are lines from the actors telling how their preparation involved watching the other one work out and getting delicious sweaty biceps, and the other actor also saying how they found something special and ran into the sunset. Are you telling me they're not in love? Are you fucking insane? You shut your filthy mouth. Vanderhoor and Dieter are the best couple and should have been the main characters. Do not argue with me. I will eat you. What you could tell me is that you turned off the movie during the first act because you thought it was really boring, and I could not give you a good reason to turn it back on. Yeah, there's some moments of wackiness that are kind of fun, like this tiger completely just fucking kicking the ass out of this dude. Just more of this, less of bad conflicts that everybody knows how they're gonna play out, and more tiger kicking the ass out of some guy. If this movie had leaned into the campiness a little bit harder, the characters would most definitely stand out more. Not that it would be harder to stand out more than these characters do, because they literally blend into the background. So it's not incompetent, it's not badly made, it's not terrible, it's somewhat enjoyable at certain scenes. It's quite literally right into mediocre from sometimes subpar movie that has some hints of fun. I'm gonna be honest, I now, some days later, I couldn't care less that there are robot zombies, that there's an animated series, that there were 90% of the characters were forgettable, and I just don't care about this movie. I'm gonna be honest. It's meh. It's dull. It's kind of hard to see. It's something you put in an afternoon, you have some beers, and then once the credits roll, you don't really think about the movie you just seen at all, and then it's over. So, you know, I guess I'll give it a 1 strong gay couple out of 10. Cool, great, bye.